For the honor of installing our new rabbi, I want to invite up someone who is well known in this community, Abby Pogrobin, who is a former president of this congregation, a frequent teacher of ours and a teacher of mine, but most importantly, a teacher and inspirer of Sivan Rotholz, our new rabbi. And I remember hearing Abby talk about Sivan about a decade ago and this extraordinary person, and boy, would she make a great rabbi. And here we are 10 years later, and she is on our bima. And it really is, in many ways, because of Abby that she is here. You'll hear more of the story, but I'd like to invite Abby up now.
Shabbat Shalom. Anyone here who knows me would never describe me as Zen. More likely, really impatient, a little judgmental, a worrier, one who rushes too much, meditates too little, could really use a little more Sabbath energy, pausing and breathing, which is why I've been so blessed to have Sivan Rotholz in my life. Before she was a rabbi, she was rabbinic. Steady, wise, comforting, insightful, boosting and anchoring. 10 years ago, when I was looking for a research assistant, a journalist friend introduced me to Sivan, Israeli-born, San Francisco raised, law school and MFA in poetry and a specialization in women of biblical literature. And he told me she was rare. That was an understatement. Sivan carries a kind of special light, not only because of her warmth, intuition, keen attention, and astute problem solving, but because she loves Judaism for all the reasons that I believe will sustain it. Bottomless meaning, resilience despite all those who try to destroy it, a potential to heal us and connect us in the deepest ways. We have all encountered people who can wrestle with dense ideas, but cannot at the end of the day turn a puzzle into a solution. Sivan can, with intelligence and alacrity. Conversely, we have all watched people who are efficient without compassion. Sivan possesses that rare alchemy of sensitivity and productivity, of appreciating complexity without ever letting it paralyze her. She warms to the hurdles of an issue and enjoys untying the knots of a problem, be it intellectual or spiritual. She does not settle for good enough, and though she is one of the kindest, most emotionally attuned, patient people I know, she can also be refreshingly blunt and unsentimental when the moment or the work requires it. The Parsha of this week, Shoftim, includes a line we've heard so often that it can feel more like a cliche than a bracing charge. Justice, justice shall you pursue. But for Sivan, it's no slogan. She takes that directive very seriously. When she told me she decided to become a rabbi, I was both moved and energized by her reasons. She described watching how Judaism, and by extension, Judaism's translators, rabbis, how they can change a life. She wants to be with people at their most acute moments, painful or exuberant. And she seems a lot less interested in the idea of rabbi as public figure than rabbi as teacher, leader, listener, consoler, one who walks us through the wilderness, and we all know will be there someday. I was not surprised to watch Sivan become not just a stellar rabbinical student with a master's in Hebrew letters and nonprofit management and leadership, but that she was chosen for the Wexner Graduate Fellowship, the year-long Hartman Institute Rabbinic Seminar, and ATRA, the Center for Rabbinic Innovation. When Sivan came to me a few years ago, while she was still up to her ears in rabbinical studies, not to mention parenting two adorable children, and told me that her dream was to work in Central's Exploring Judaism program and to learn from its director, the amazing Rabbi Lisa Rubin, I was over the moon, even though I knew it meant I would lose her as my research assistant. I personally believe that Central's introduction to Judaism is the gold standard. But I was also curious. Why did Sivan gravitate towards the rabbinic work of introducing Judaism to those who have not necessarily fallen in love with it yet? She told me that was exactly the point. She so fervently wants to share what she loves about our Jewish expanse, its stories, its responsibilities, its rituals, with those who might not yet have discovered the magic. But she could also get inside what might make someone feel daunted. Sivan has an intuitive grasp of what might make someone who is not Jewish or someone born Jewish who doesn't feel connected, invested, or well-versed, what might make them hesitate to take on learning or Jewish practice. She gets what gets in the way, and she listens without judgment. Sivan is the kind of rabbi with whom I can imagine my kids sitting and asking their hardest questions, especially after a week like this one. Tomorrow's Haftorah is Isaiah 51:12, the fourth of a series of what are known as the 7 Haftorot of consolation. I learned recently that the 7 Sabbaths after Tisha B'Av, which takes us up to Rosh Hashanah, are known as Sheva de Nechamata, the 7 of consolation, because on each of these Sabbaths, the Haftarah reading contains a prophecy of comfort. I love those words, a prophecy of comfort. God knows we all need that after this awful week. I know how much Sivan, who was born in Haifa and is tied so closely to Israel, has been struggling after the horrific news last weekend. But that makes it all the more poignant that we are welcoming her to this bima on this Shabbat, a Shabbat of consolation. She is joining the extraordinary team of clergy who console us when we're reeling and sleepless, when hope these days feels like a much steeper climb. Sivan gives me comfort. I will venture to say she will care about comforting you, not just because she's better than the Calm app, but because she's wise. Not just because she's hardworking, but because she wants to work so hard for the Jewish people. I hope you will join me in welcoming her to our family. She is worthy of Central standards, its legacy, and its covenant.
Shabbat Shalom. When I woke up on Sunday to the news of the murder of 6 hostages, I wondered how I could possibly be installed tonight, just 5 days later. How could I focus on joy and gratitude when the Jewish people are grieving? How could I be celebrated when Alexander, Almag, Carmel, Eden, Hirsch, and Ori were alive 1 week ago, and now they are not? I know that I'm unfamiliar to many of you. That's the point of an installation, to welcome and introduce a new member of this clergy team. So as we press forward, both celebrating and mourning here together tonight, I hope that you'll permit me to tell you a bit about my connection to Israel. As Abby mentioned, I was born in Haifa, and I am a 4th-generation progressive Zionist. My great-grandparents came to Israel in the 2nd Aliyah, planting eucalyptus trees to dry the malaria swamps. This is, in fact, my great-grandfather's talit that I'm wearing tonight. My parents were founding members of Shalom Achshav and have been advocating for peace since before I was born. Hebrew was the first language spoken in my home. I visited Israel often as a child, worked and studied there throughout my life, and recently lived in Jerusalem for 3 years. I am an Israeli American, even if my Hebrew will always disappoint my family.
Israel is one of my homes. When I left in 2022, I toured the streets of Jerusalem openly weeping. As the poet Yehuda Halevi famously wrote, Libi bamizrach, my heart is in the east. This has only been more true since October 7th. I have agonized alongside you for these past 336 days, knowing that it was our mishpacha, our family, that suffered so horrifically at the hands of Hamas terrorists. The 6 hostages murdered this past week were all our brothers and sisters. Having been ordained and now being installed in a post-October 7th world, I've spent a lot of time thinking about what it means to be a rabbi in this moment. There are no easy answers, but I feel both blessed and feel a great sense of responsibility to be in this role in this hour. As I contemplate what it means to be on this remarkable bima, celebrating on this of all Shabbats, it is the light of our tradition that guides me. It is the knowledge that Judaism always holds struggle and blessing simultaneously. Whether we sing Shehechianu right after the Mishe Berach, have a barbecue on Yom HaAtzmaut just hours after Yom HaZikaron, or stand under the chuppah the day after a funeral. Tonight is, for me, the inverse of the breaking of the glass at a wedding. A moment of celebration to remind us of what is good in the world amidst a daily reality that too often reminds us of what is not. And so I want to dedicate my installation to the memories of Alexander, Almog, Carmel, Eden, Hirsch, and Ori, and to lift up my gratitude as a prayer for the safe return of the remaining 101 hostages. Bring them home now. As I focus on appreciation, I offer thanks to the many people without whom I would not be here tonight. First and foremost, I want to thank one of Central's past presidents, Abby Pogreben. As Abby mentioned, I was blessed to serve as her research assistant for 10 years. In that time, I learned that she works tirelessly as a champion of rabbis. In my case, I don't know that I would be a rabbi were it not for Abby's unending generosity, help, and guidance. Thank you, Abby, for teaching me what it means to care so much about the Jewish story and our wider Jewish family. I also owe a special debt of gratitude to Rabbi Lisa Rubin, not only for taking a chance on me, but for building the Center for Exploring Judaism, a program that exemplifies the big tent of Reform Judaism. And I must thank Rabbi Angela Buchdahl, who has built something extraordinary here at Central Synagogue, who saw potential in me to serve in this world-class shul before I saw it in myself, and who challenges and inspires me to grow into a better rabbi every day. I also want to thank the exceptional clergy I have the privilege of working alongside. Cantors Mutlu and Pearsall and Rabbis Berman, Crystal, Davis, Haber, Lorge, Mandel, Rosenthal, and Salth. Each and every one of you has been integral to my feeling at home at Central. How lucky am I to learn from such generous, thoughtful, and talented rabbis and cantors. To the dedicated staff in the 4th floor clergy study, the unparalleled team in the adult engagement department, especially Rachel LaQuersha, Carolyn Ressler, and Marina Nebro, and the talented humans across the street at 110. You have supported me in every way imaginable, and I simply could not do this work without you. And a special thanks to our exceptional executive director, Marcia Caban, who had a vision for my role and has already taught me so much. And to our director of adult engagement, Shira Epstein, who encourages us all to be imaginative, responsive, and effective. I would also like to thank our president, John May, and all of the officers, trustees, board members, and committee members whose dedication behind the scenes cannot be overestimated. I have to acknowledge the many teachers, mentors, guides, and rabbis who impacted my growth and journey, and the friends who have been with me on this unexpected ride, including my loved ones who came out to support me tonight, Marcia Kolker, Lou Sandberg, and Rabbis Deborah Sachs-Mintz and Jack Sherritt. Finally, I offer my gratitude to my Center for Exploring Judaism students. Being your teacher and guide has truly been one of the great gifts of my life. There is no forgetting the sorrow of this past week, but our story moves forward. We show up for Shabbat again. We bow to the east, recite the Shema and Kaddish, and the clergy of this synagogue insist we keep to the plan. A new rabbi will be installed. I couldn't be more humbled or more grateful. Thank you all for summoning this celebration despite all the heartbreak. May I always be guided by our tradition so that I might serve you well. Shabbat Shalom.